Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me wherever you are joining me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. And if you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. It is an interesting year in football. The NFL is showing once again that it does not matter who you are. It does not matter how good you are. If you do not perform to your capabilities, you will either lose to a team that you have no business losing to, or you will lose to a team that blows you out, even though you're a good team. Last night, I watched the New York Giants behind the direction of Tyrod Taylor, and that is important. With an offensive line off the street, essentially, only one person playing in a position that they were supposed to be playing at the beginning of the year, with only one offensive lineman on the field that they most likely expected to be out there at the beginning of the year. They went out there with four backups, people displaced. One of them just came off the streets, hasn't played in a year, was supposed to play guard, ended up playing left tackle. A guy that was supposed to be a guard that was at center, a guy that was supposed to be the right guard, now the left guard. Then he goes down and another person's in. Just injury after injury along the offensive line. And Tyrod Taylor and Saquon Barkley stared down the mighty Buffalo Bills and should have won the football game. They should have won the football game. Now, I don't know what happened at halftime, but I'm going to assume that it was Tyrod Taylor's fault. That at the end of that, he called an audible at the end of the first half to a run play with a few seconds left. Maybe he didn't know there was no timeouts. Maybe he thought it was more time than what it really was. It's on him. I'll put that on him. They walk away in the first half without points. But regardless, they didn't come down, and they stared down the Buffalo Bills. And while staring down the Buffalo Bills, they are in position to win the game. One play remaining. They call a pass play. They're going to throw the ball to who should be their best receiver, the 6'6", 240-pound tight end who runs like a wide receiver, who can jump, who has a catch radius that is ridiculous. And we watch in real time as the defensive back grabs him so that he cannot extend his arms to go and get the ball and no flag be thrown. Then we watch on the broadcast, the national broadcast, as the referee or the guy who is the officials guy who works for the company tries to explain away pass interference, as if we can't see this defensive back draped all over the arm of Darren Waller, keeping his left arm from being able to stretch with his right arm. If you're watching me on anywhere right now, you can see this was what was going on. His right arm went to extend. His left arm couldn't extend because somebody was holding him down. Now, I'm not saying that the fix is in, because to me, sometimes that's ridiculous, right? I don't believe that they're fixing games. But I believe that the fear of getting it wrong is hamstringing these referees. But it shouldn't, because that should be a reviewable call. That should be a call where I make the call because I know I can go back and go, that wasn't the call. And it shouldn't be, oh, well, the original call was this, so it has to be without a shadow of a doubt. It should be that the original call was this. We're going to look at the review. Hey, I think it wasn't pass interference, or I think that it was pass interference, and we change it. We don't have to get these things wrong, because that should have been, and most likely would have been, a touchdown if Darren Waller is able to go up with his 6'6" frame, with his ridiculous wingspan. If he could go up and grab that ball with two hands, he's probably catching it for a touchdown. They absolutely robbed the Giants out of a win. And in the grand scheme of things, that changes a whole lot, right? Because we saw what a healthy Saquon Barkley looks like in that offense, what it makes that offense able to do. They were holding them down, and then boom, 30-yard rush, back to back. That is what a healthy running back who's an elite level running back does. You might be able to hold him down 22 out of 25 carries, but if he gets 3 where he explodes for you, curtains. Tyrod Taylor outplayed Josh Allen. Why did he outplay him? Because he was out there running for his life, never looked like he was frazzled. Essentially, he looked like he looked when he was in Buffalo, when they tried to lose on purpose to get a Josh Allen, and he still took them to the playoffs. He looked like that guy. This is clearly Saquon Barkley's team. I don't want to hear anything else about this is Daniel Jones' team. The Giants were clearly wrong in giving Daniel Jones that money. They should have given that money, or at least more of that money and longevity and some security, to Saquon Barkley. Right? Because Saquon Barkley was running behind that line that was getting him hit as he was taking the handoff. That's how bad it was out there. He was getting hit as he was taking the handoff on several occasions. He would get the ball, have to stop his feet because there were 1-2 defenders in front of him immediately. But when you gave him a sliver, when you gave him a little bit of daylight, he was able to find it. One of the more impressive runs of the night, he was heading outside and he stopped and he waited for his lineman to catch up because there was nowhere to run. So he just waited for the lineman to catch up. And as soon as that lineman touched the defender, he wedged right in behind that lineman and got a few yards. I thought it was so impressive, right? And when you get performances like that from Saquon, from Tyrod Taylor, it's just not fair that they don't get the chance to win that game because of penalties that were called on them, but not called on Buffalo. And I'm not even a Giants fan, but I can understand a robbery when I see it. I can understand when somebody was wronged. It doesn't take brain surgery to figure this out. You know what else it doesn't take brain surgery to figure out? That there is clearly some type of subconscious agenda, some type of maybe an agenda that maybe we're just not even aware of, or a conditioning that has happened that says that we have to be far more critical of black quarterbacks than we do of their counterparts. Far more critical, far more final in our designation, right? Than we do with the counterparts. Justin Fields just isn't good. Justin Fields is a running back. Justin Fields should not be a starting quarterback. Those are the narratives that you hear when he has multiple good games, or not even good games, phenomenal games in a row. They go, oh, sell high, trade him right now because that's not who he is. On the flip side of that, a contemporary like Zach Wilson has mediocre games, not great, mediocre games. And people go, oh, well, the future looks like it's pointing up for him. But the culprit of it all, the one that makes you makes me more upset than any, is the crowning of they have arrived. They are tier one after 1 or 2 games for quarterbacks who are not black. And for our black quarterbacks, they're not worth it. They've regressed. They were never that good narratives after one bad performance. We see it with Dak Prescott all the time. So much that people just run with the narrative that it's been Dak's fault. Dak, let me let you in on a little secret. If it's Dak's fault that the Cowboys is not good, that the Cowboys are not winning championships, if that's on Dak, then cool. That's on Dak, right? The problem is, if that's on Dak, then your beloved, right? That guy that all of y'all think is so good in the booth, that former Cowboys great at quarterback, it was all his fault as well. Because Dak isn't doing anything that he was not doing. Dak's not winning playoff games. He didn't win any playoff games. According to y'all, Dak comes up small in the big moments. He comes up small in the big moments. Dak has been injured over the last few years. He was starting to get injured over the last few years. It's the exact same career, and yet we never heard anybody say Tony Romo was the problem. It was always the defense, the offensive line, the receivers, the run game, the coaching. It was always someone else's fault. Yet, Dak Prescott, even before he got the money, had to endure countless amounts of times where people said, Dak is the problem. Dak is the problem. Dak is the problem. Only to have none of the actual data support it. I can't tell you how annoying it is to watch as people spin narratives that are not supported by any type of data, not quantitative data, and definitely not qualitative data. But we see it all the time. Brock Purdy, last week, people were giving Brock Purdy's Hall of Fame speech after he had a 200 and something yard game and 4 touchdowns where he was throwing a wide, buck naked, open receivers, and or he was dumping it off to people who were getting busy. Brock Purdy has never had to put a team on his back and win. When he's been asked to put a team on his back and win. He's crumbled. He crumbled in college, and he crumbled this past Sunday when Christian McCaffrey went down and they couldn't just, do their normal, we're just going to out people everyone. Like Christian McCaffrey went down, Deebo Samuel went down, and all of a sudden things were regular. Weapons were not all the most elite weapons in football. Purdy didn't only look bad, he looked horrible. And yet, when I said, hey, give him that stuff y'all were giving that, well, this is the first bad game he's had. No, it's not. They've just won those games. I can point to you many a times where Brock Purdy has thrown the ball into the hands of defenders who have dropped him. But I remember when y'all were on other quarterbacks that didn't look like Purdy, when they would throw the ball into the hands of defenders and drop them and go, well, he should have 3 interceptions. He should have had 2 interceptions. He should have had 4 fumbles. You play the should have game with those guys. And now we have Jalen Hurts coming off his worst performance as a professional. By the way, his worst performance as a professional was still 300 and plus yards, a touchdown, a rushing touchdown. His only issue was that he threw 3 picks. That's his only issue. He threw 3 picks. And I wanted to tell you what the narrative is being spent in Philadelphia by people that other people listen to. And shout out to my guy Malik at Blitz Mag Radio for pointing this out. D Camara and Richie is Joe DeCamara and John Ritchie, who are both the hosts of the WIP Morning Show 94, a morning show that has a following on Twitter that's 216,000 followers deep, had this to say about Jalen Hurts after one bad performance. The problem is we're not as good as I thought we'd be, and it's because Jalen Hurts has officially regressed. That was what John Ritchie said about Jalen Hurts after one game. He said that Jalen Hurts has regressed. And my response to that was, how dare you? The same Philadelphia radio stations that defended Carson Wentz after one good season came on radio to their giant Philadelphia following and had the nerve to come out of their mouth right after this guy led your team to a Super Bowl last year and say after one game he regressed. But this is just what they have to deal with when you are black and playing this position in the NFL. And there'll be people out here that goes, why you always got to make it about color? What else is there? What else is there? Show me the narrative where they do this to a white quarterback and I'll shut up. Show me the narrative where a white quarterback who is the elite, who has led their team to success, who has had individual success as well as team success, show me where when they have one bad game, people go, oh, is he really worth the money? Like they did to Lamar Jackson after one game. Show me where it happens at. Because I watched Cincinnati at the beginning of the year. I watched the Cincinnati Bengals at the beginning of this season. I watched them come out the gate terribly. I watched them come out the gate terribly. And as I watched them come out the gate terribly, I could only blame one person, the quarterback. Right? I could only blame the quarterback. Why? Well, let me see. 67 passing yards in game 1, 216 passing yards in game 2, 139 passing yards against Tennessee in game 4. Right? I can only blame him because everything in this offense is built around him. He's got 3 elite receivers. He's got running backs. They've got a good defense, and yet they're not putting up the yards and or the touchdowns to win games. They're 3-3 by the grace of God and their defense and some other teams that they played being not at their optimal. Right? 168 yards versus Seattle, and they win the game. Yet we're quick to tell everybody, oh, well, is Lamar Jackson worth the money? Well, if you're asking the question after one bad game, are you getting enough out of him? When he's the leading rusher and the quarterback, shouldn't you be asking that about Joe Burrow, who has 7 touchdowns and 4 interceptions and 1,200 yards in 6 games, who's completing 63% of his passes in those 6 games, who has 3 losses that are directly a result of him and his bad play in those 3 games? Yet we never hear criticism of Joe Burrow. We never hear it. We never hear the criticism from the people. I'm not talking about from nobodies like me. We never hear the Justin Herbert criticism. Yet we get the Tua criticism, right? And now and Jalen Hurts is still out here having to prove himself. People told us Mac Jones was good. People kept trying to tell us Mac Jones was good. People keep trying to tell us Jimmy Garoppolo is good. Right? But nobody says anything about the money that Jimmy Garoppolo is getting. Nobody says anything about the money that some of these other quarterbacks are getting. They only talk about the brothers. Russell Wilson. Oh my gosh, Russell Wilson is so awful. Russell Wilson's getting paid so much money. Russell Wilson is letting down. Okay, cool. If you want to say Russell Wilson is not playing well, cool. If you want to blame, cool. But just so we're clear, this is Russell Wilson's numbers. These are Russell Wilson's numbers right now. 66% completion, 1,300 yards passing, 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. You want to know the difference? Russell Wilson has a defense that can't stop water from running. Russell Wilson, I'm going to say this again. Russell Wilson has 12 touchdowns and 4 interceptions over 6 games, and people are coming out saying Russell Wilson won't be the starting quarterback here next year. It's Russell Wilson's fault that the defense gave up 70 points to Miami. It's Russell Wilson's fault that the defense gave up 28 points to Chicago. It's Russell Wilson's fault that the defense gave up 35 points to Washington. 31 points to the Jets. That's all Russell Wilson's fault. Right? If you want to blame Russell Wilson for the Kansas City loss, cool, go ahead. 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions versus the Giants. 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions versus Chicago. 1 touchdown, 1 interception versus Miami, who they got boat raced by 50 points. 3 touchdowns, 1 interception versus Washington. 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions versus Cleveland. Can someone please explain to me why Russell Wilson is taking all of the flack? Why is this all on Russell Wilson? I'm looking at his numbers. He's got 2 300-yard games. That 3 touchdown game with no interceptions was 223 yards. 196, 177. The 95-yard game is the only game I look at and go, right? He's got 200 yards rushing. He's got 200 yards rushing. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, what, like, legitimately, what are we talking about here? Like, maybe not 200 yards rushing. I might have been a little. He's got over 100-something yards rushing. What are we talking about here? Why is all the flack on Russell Wilson? Why are we not pointing the blame where the blame should be? What's up with that defense? What's up with the scheme that everybody put their faith in Sean Payton to come in and fix? It looks pedestrian. But no, it's all Russell Wilson's fault. And that is your lot in life as a black quarterback in the NFL. Whenever things go wrong, it's your fault. While your white contemporaries are allowed to be trash and nobody says anything about it until, right? Until they're done. Until they're done. Then they'll say something about it. But even when they're done, somebody's going to give them another opportunity. And this is your lot in life. It just is not fair. It's not a fair way to criticize. It's not a fair way to feel. It's not a fair way that things are done. And every Monday, when I see it just become so ridiculous, I'm going to say something about it. Because nobody's killing these other quarterbacks. I heard the most ridiculous thing I ever heard today. I'm going to share it with you because it was so ridiculous that I stopped myself. It was so ridiculous that I stopped myself and went, whoa. What did I miss? This was some dude, right? Says all Derek Carr needs is a defense and he can win a Super Bowl, right? That was a quote that I heard from people about Derek Carr. All Derek Carr needs is a defense and all of a sudden he's going to win a Super Bowl. Except Derek Carr has a defense. You want to know what Derek Carr's stats look like through 6 games? 65 completion percentage, 1,300 yards, 5 TDs, 3 interceptions, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, Not one person is out here saying, yo, it's time to look at replacing Derek Carr. Derek Carr had a 127-yard outing. He had a 103-yard outing, 183-yard outing. Why? They're 3-3, but they're 3-3 in the worst division in football. The NFC South, it is the worst division in football. And yet, Derek Carr is receiving no flack for his 1 touchdown, 1 interception performance versus Houston, where they couldn't get the ball in the end zone. He's not receiving any flack. He's not receiving any blowback. He's not receiving any of the slings and arrows. Why? Jameis Winston came in relief, got hit while he was trying to throw a ball. The ball got intercepted, and they went, oh my gosh, this is what Jameis Winston does when he comes in the game. Yo, your other quarterback couldn't even survive this game. And that brings me back to Tyrod Taylor. Because when I first said, yo, Tyrod Taylor has a legitimate chance to win this job in New York over Daniel Jones, people said I was crazy. When I said that Tyrod Taylor could possibly give the Giants a better chance of winning right now than Daniel Jones, people thought I was crazy. When I said, don't pay Daniel Jones unless you can get him for bargain basement money, let him walk, right? Let him walk. And you've got Tyrod Taylor to be your stopgap holdover while you bring in and or look at getting another quarterback. Save yourself a bunch of money and go out and make the team better. Everyone still said I was crazy. And now we see Tyrod Taylor. Look, a full game is a small sample size, but a full game is a full game versus a good defense with pass rushers all over the place, with playmakers. That same team that blew out mighty Miami struggled versus this Giants team. You know why? Because the defense held up and their quarterback, didn't put them in positions that were negative and knew how to make the plays when the plays were there to be made. He looked like the adult in the room. He didn't look like one of the kids. Oh, by the way, it helps when you finally give the ball to the running back on a regular occasion when the running back is your best player on the team. These are the facts. It just is not fair how Tyrod Taylor has been treated in his career. It just is not fair how black quarterbacks have been treated with these narratives. And it's not fair that the Giants aren't sitting with a win today. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Talk Spicy. I'm Gene Clemens. We do this thing a few times a week. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. And if you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Till next time, peace.